In a major development, the leaders of the NSCN-IM will be leaving for New Delhi tomorrow to hold talks on the Naga political issue with the Government of India. The talks is slated to be held on the 21st of August. NSCN-IM General Secretary T.H. Muiva and other senior leaders of the group will be travelling for the talks. The NSCN-IM has made it clear with the Government of India about their demand for a separate constitution and flag, and this issue might well be taken up in the meeting, according to some sources. The Government of India in the month of August 2015 signed the historic framework agreement with the NSCN-IM. In recent times, there has been calls from various civil society organizations to bring an inclusive, acceptable and honorable solution to the burning Naga political issue. And now to talk a little more on this meet between the Government of India and the NSCN-IM, joining me here on the special newsroom is our Associate Editor Almuli, and we'll be speaking a little more on what Nagas can expect out of this meeting, where the NSCN-IM leaders will be travelling to Delhi to have talks with the Government of India. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for joining me. Starting off, it's been quite some time since the Government of India has actually had a talk with any of the leaders. I mean, the interlocutor A.K. Mishra has been on and off coming to Nagaland and speaking with various stakeholders. But it's after a very long time that we are getting to know that the NSCN-IM higher leadership will be travelling to Delhi tomorrow to have talks with the Government of India. So, sir, what can some of the expectations be, like us Nagas, like can we expect anything out of this meeting, and do you feel that there's going to be something that can be taken out from this meeting, sir?
Yes, Akivi, I think the expectations from the Naga community is definitely very high, and even among the Naga nationalist organizations, not just the NSCN-IM, there must be some kind of level of expectations that this time something big is actually brewing, and out of which we might get something. It's very interesting, since the 1997 ceasefire, Akivi, when the NSCN-IM first signed a ceasefire agreement with the government of India, which continues to be in place. I think we have had more than somewhere in the region of 70 to 80 rounds of talks with the government of India, Akivi. Yes. And every time that Muiva goes to Delhi, there has always been a sense of expectation. Maybe after 70 years, we might have something. And I think this has been the traditional reception to news of NSCN-IM leaders or any Naga nationalist organization leaderships going to Delhi. So even this time, I think the expectation is quite high. But like I mentioned a little bit earlier, that we have had more than 70 to 80 rounds of talks with the NSCN-IM and of course the other Naga nationalist organizations in their talks with the government of India. So somehow there is also a pessimism that this might just be another one of those overhyped, media-induced hype that the organizations might be creating to just keep the issue hot and relevant in that case. But to be fair to the guys there, I think this time we can expect something very new, because first thing, it is not every day that the NSCN-IM General Secretary Mr. Muiva himself goes to Delhi all the time, and normally when he goes, it is at a political level. We were talking about this earlier, that the talks with the NSCN-IM or any of the Naga political groups have always been at the top levels. But when you are addressing issues that concern some of the main details of, let's say, the framework agreement, you are going to talk at a bureaucratic level, which does not require someone in the status and designation that Muiva has. So definitely, I think the expectations in Nagaland is quite high. So in regard to the takeaways, what might be the possible outcome in case it is at a political level? First thing, definitely it will be the question of a separate constitution for the Naga people, Akivi. Because as far as the 2015 framework agreement is concerned, I think the round of talks in regard to hammering out all the small details in regard to the solution have has already been agreed upon. In a sense, it is in retrospection that we're talking here. So There are a few issues that have been widely reported in the media, and that continues to elude the agreement, agreement aspect of it. The first is the constitution for the people of Nagaland, no, for the Naga people in the northeast region, and of course there is the question of the flag. Of course, the government of Naga, India did not say that we're not giving you a flag of your own. They said we'll give you a flag of your own, but this won't be a political flag. This is going to be a socio-cultural flag that you can use for community activities and in your interpersonal community activities and interaction, but not as a political flag, because a political flag will mean we are a completely sovereign entity of our own. So the two things that we can expect from the meeting, assuming that this meeting that Muiwa is going to have with Delhi is at a political level, at the highest level, assuming so, we might get a word or two in regard to the flag and the constitution for the Naga people of Northeast region. And I'm saying Naga people of Northeast region because I think the NSCN-IM has always propounded the idea of a unified Nagalim, that is people in other states besides Nagaland, outside the state, whose territories are contiguous to the Naga people, Naga people in Nagaland. So it will be Nagaland, the greater Nagaland concept of it. So I think those are two primary things we can expect from this visit. Let's hope they are actually visiting Delhi for actual political talks, because like we talked earlier, this is just speculations for now, Akivai.
All right. So now you had just mentioned that ever since the ceasefire agreement, there have been about 70 to 80 roundtable talks with the government of India and the various Naga national political groups. Now, so 70 to 80 round of talks, but somehow the details or the minutes or what was discussed in the meeting are usually kept under wrap. It's never actually brought out to the public domain. I mean, the historic framework agreement was signed by the government of India and the NSCN-IM in the year 2015. Then you've got the agreed position signed by the NNPGs. But the contents of this agreements are still a big question mark. So is there any particular, could there be a particular reason as to why the details of these meetings are not out in the public?
Yeah, Akivi, I'll tell you a small story. I was working with the Morong Express during those days, and in 1997, the first agreement in the Naga regions with a Naga nationalist organization was with the NSCN-IM, and the government of India, they signed the ceasefire agreement in, I think, August 1997, September, or I forgot. So I was working with the Morong Express in the early 2000s. And I think it was only during 2007, just before the NSCN unification group broke away from the NSCN-IM. It was only during that time, after more than 6 to 7 years since the ceasefire, that for the first time, the Morong Express reporters there saw a copy of the ceasefire agreement, Akive. And even during that time, the people used to ask, what is written in the 1997 ceasefire agreement between the government of India and the NSCN-IM. We used to wonder a lot, and after many years we got to see a copy, and that later someone actually refuted that that was the actual content of the ceasefire agreement. It has always been a traditional practice of the Naga nationalist organizations to keep a tight lip on whatever has been going on. And I have had opportunities with Nagaland government leaders in the past. In interactions, they have said even they don't know what is written there or what they discuss. We're not privy to it. We are just here supporting the cause, supporting the talks, and we don't know what they discuss. So the idea of hiding information, concealing information has always been very customary. And if you ask me, I wouldn't even know what was written in the first and the second draft of the ceasefire agreement that the government of India had with the Naga political groups. To be fair to the NSCN-IM, it's not only them, even the other Naga political groups have always been very shy when it comes to giving out information in regard to the discussions and the talks they had. And there have been comments from even community leaders. For instance, the tribal community leaderships have always asked that the groups and the government of India should also release statements in regard to the details they discussed in the round of talk, so that the people, the community leaders and the citizens themselves, and these are the stakeholders, Akiving.
Yes.
So these are the stakeholders, and they have the right to know what they discuss or what the agreement entails. In fact, it was the Hindu that the Hindu or the Hindu Times, I forgot, but it was this national papers that first released a statement stating all the details of the 2015 framework agreement between the NSCN-IM and the government of India. Other than that, we have not been able to really go through the details, because most of the time any information that was given out was always either fake or they were unconfirmed. So I think the whole idea is to keep the direction of the talks in regard to, from the perspective of the NSCN-IM or even the government of India, to keep it close to their chest, because they do not, I believe, want to influence whatever progress that has been made, that there should not be any diversion from whatever progress that they have made so far during the 70 to 80 rounds of talks they have had since 1997, Akive.
All right, sir. Now coming to another aspect of this whole Naga political issue. I mean, this Naga political issue has been going on for quite some time, and due to which various civil society organizations in Nagaland or in Naga dominated areas, could be outside of Nagaland, have all in one voice said that there should be an amicable, honorable, acceptable and inclusive solution to the Naga political talks.
Right.
And that this demand is made even clear after the framework agreement was signed in the year 2015 and the agreed position in 2017-18. So, I mean, when there is a clarion call by all the civil society organizations that there should be an end to the Naga political issue, and that the solution should be acceptable, honorable, and it should be amicable for all,
I think.
inclusive, yes, inclusive. So, but then on the other hand, sir, the whole issue is the Naga political issue only reserved for those in the Naga political talks, or is it even for us as a Naga citizen? Doesn't it make it more inclusive if the details are shared with us too? Because in the end, we also have to go through this whole issue as we are a Naga. But do you think it should be privy to the Naga public, that they also should know some information or something like that, sir?
Yeah, I think definitely the Naga people should have been given a space for consultations. And when I say that the government of Nagaland or the government of India or the NSCN-IM or any Naga nationalist organizations have had consultations with the people, it doesn't mean that they should have met only with the leaders of the, let's say, the tribal ho-hos,
yes,
the Naga ho-ho. And I think that is a very symbolic representation that is used in democratic institutions. For instance, let's say the government of Nagaland had a consultation with the people. What they actually mean is they met with leaders of community organizations representing us. That is one of the flows of democratic representation in Nagaland, Akive.
Yes.
So, technically speaking, while the community organizations, the tribal ho-hos, they represent us symbolically, they are not really carrying our voice and our opinions, because I believe that there is actually a system for it. Let's say we have referendums also,
yes,
public surveys also, community surveys, and even the government, the local organizations can even conduct some kind of a survey among the people, so as to come up with a singular common statement in regard to some of the burning issues that we are facing. It could be extortion, it could be taxes, it could be water supply and power, it could be the Naga political issue. So the problem is that we are stakeholders. if there ever was an agreement with the government of between the government of the government of India and the Naga nationalist organizations in any form, if there was an agreement, a solution, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, it's going to affect you, Akive.
Yes.
It's going to affect me. The citizens are going to be the most affected, whether it's for the better or for the worse.
Yes.
So like you said, definitely we all are stakeholders. So the idea of consultations and meeting with the people should not be confined to the idea of meeting only the community leaders, because while they represent us symbolically, they are not our voice in that sense, because we have more than 19 lakh people in Nagaland, more than 2 million people in Nagaland, population census.
Yes.
And if it is not possible for you to have individual opinions from each and every one of them, but if you could, let's say, have consultation within the tribal hosts themselves without the involvement of the government of Nagaland, let's say, and engage with a community, with the Naga nationalist organizations, I think there will be some kind of a clarity in regard to, at least a level of clarity in regard to what the people want, what is it in for them. If there is a solution, what are they going to get, what are they going to go through? So yeah, at least even if such kind of an exercise cannot be undertaken, I always insist that, and I've always insisted this in my editorials when I was with a newspaper. I've always written, at least use the opinions of the media, the newspapers, to have an idea of what the people really want, or what they think they should be entitled to, if there is some kind of a solution in this regard. So you cannot expect the government of Nagaland or the NSCN-IM or any of the Naga political groups to engage with each and every one of 2 million people in Nagaland or across the northeast region too. But at least if we could have an independent, honest and an open discourse in the media, at least, then I think we will feel satisfied that, oh, at least that they are informing us about this. So we don't feel like we are foreigners here. We don't feel like we have been kept out of the loop. So definitely it'll be great if there were some kind of a consultation process within the communities that the government of Nagaland or the government of India or even the Naga political groups can have, so that there is transparency. This is very important. We're talking of honorable and acceptable and inclusive solution to the Naga political issue, Akivi. But whose definition is it going to be honorable? Whose definition is inclusive? Whose definition is acceptable? Does it mean that it's acceptable only to the government of Nagaland, or is it honorable only to the NSCN-IM or the NSCN-K or any other political group? Is it inclusive and acceptable and honorable only to a certain section of the political institutions, whether it's the government or whether it's the Naga political groups or the people? So the definition will vary. You know, what is honorable to you might not be honorable to me, Akive.
Yes.
What is acceptable to you might not be acceptable to me. So that is a statement that keeps having currency in the Naga media also. But I think there would be some kind of a satisfaction even among the people and the community leaders if the governments and the parties involved in the dialogue would also keep us regularly updated about what they talk about, what was the meeting about, what were the details of the agreement. So because we are the stakeholders, Akive.
All right, sir, now regarding transparency, and someone like you who's been in this profession for 20 plus odd years, this is the question that I want to pose to you, is that the print media in Nagaland has been doing an excellent job in trying to provide the basic details about the discussions, the meetings going on between the various Naga national political groups and with the interlocutors over the past, ever since the inception of Nagaland. The print media has been doing an amazing job in trying to keep the citizens of Nagaland informed about the Naga political issue. Now, sir, over the past few years, do you feel that with the introduction of broadcast journalism or broadcast media in our state in Nagaland, do you think that we see a lot of interviews these days with leaders, NNPG leaders, back then it was just on paper. We never saw them as a human talking like a human, but it was always quoted. But nowadays, with the inception or with the introduction of broadcast media, do you believe that this transparency is going to get a little more better, because now you can actually hear the person speak, you can see him speak? So do you think that with the entry of broadcast journalism or broadcast media, that the Naga, the normal Nagas like us, will have more connection to this whole Naga political issue?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing on one side that we have a lot of media establishments coming up using various and different platforms to engage the political issues that the people of Nagaland or the Naga people in the Northeast might be facing. So it's a good thing. But on the other hand, again, I think to be fair to the media fraternity here, we have always struggled with getting to interact with political leaders at the highest level. For a long time, Chief Minister Nefirio always had a very poor reputation of someone who used to strike and stay away from the Naga journalists. And in fact, it's only recently that news TV establishments are coming up that he is interacting with people. I'm not saying he's a bad person, but he used to have that kind of a reputation even among the journalists, because he rarely interacted with the media, whether it was the newspapers or the TVs and the digital establishments. It's only now that he's slowly interacting with the people. So most of the time, the people used to feel left out. And even Mr. Muiva, he is someone who has always been media savvy, and he has always engaged with, especially with the national media establishments. So he has always been in the news one way or the other, giving information, talking to the, so it gives the people a sense of connection with the group, for instance. And even the other Naga political leaders, they've started to interact with the people through the media, because they know that at least having a presence in the media makes the people feel connected to you. So only recently now that there is a level of transparency in that sense. I'm not saying everything they say is honest or everything they say is confirmed and authentic, but at least the very fact that they are now appearing in front of TVs and talking more freely to journalists indicates that there is a shift from a position where they felt that they have to be in control of the information and the circumstances that they are in, to moving into a space where they can now engage freely with the public, because they know that without the support of the public, whether you are a popularly elected government, or whether you are a Naga political organization, or whether you are a tribal hoho, in order for you to have your motives and your objectives and your agenda pushed into the community itself, you have to have some kind of a media presence, and that media presence offers you at least a small semblance of transparency that you can present before the people if you really want to move forward. Activate.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on this special newsroom and explaining to the viewers about the Naga political issue. Thank you so much. Well, that was our associate editor, Al Muli, and he explained that some of the expectations that we can expect out of the 21st August meeting between the NSCN-IM and the Government of India is two main issues, which is there could be some sort, assuming, that is the word he used, that there could be a solution related to the issue of a separate flag for the Naga people and a separate constitution for the Naga people. Well, the talks are slated to be held on 21st, so it's yet to be seen if Prime Minister Narendra Modi also will be taking part in this government talks between the NSCN-IM and the Government of India. But we will be bringing you more updates on what happens at the meeting. So that was all for this hour's bulletin. For more news and updates, stay tuned to Hornbill TV. Goodbye.